The president, of course, says we're still ahead of schedule, though by my calculation, we don't have that much more time to be ahead of schedule if this was only supposed to be a max 6-week operation in the first place, and we're in week 5. Do you expect that it is going to end at 6 weeks with the signals we are seeing, both from the troop presence that is getting even larger in the Middle East and the rhetoric from the president?
I don't think so. I think that we still have work to do to sort of set the conditions around the Strait of Hormuz for us to even begin to move to an escort mission. We're, of course, have been in an attack mission. We've been in a missile defense mission. But to shift, they have to finish degrading the coastal defenses of Iran. They probably need to degrade their drones more, and of course fast boats. So we're bringing the equipment over. It's going to take time, but I think it's going to be a little bit longer than forecast.
That's the narrative in the major papers this morning. The New York Times talking about several hundred U.S. Special Operations Forces, Rangers, and Navy SEALs joining thousands of Marines and Army paratroopers in deployment. The Post talking about a Pentagon preparing for weeks of ground operations in Iran. Does that feel to you like where we're going, or is this a deal that's about to be struck, as the president suggests?
I definitely don't think there's a deal in the offing. I don't even know that we've met indirectly, so to speak.
Okay.
What I think might be happening is that the president is serious, or he's seriously thinking about taking Kharg Island. Right now, that's not my base case. I'm not sure or certain that he would. It might be just something that gives him options, gives him leverage, allows him to take an economic hostage if the Iranians continue not to cooperate when it comes time to reopen the strait. But yeah, I think he's making sure he's got the tools in place to do that if he feels like he needs to.
Well, when we think about the Iranian regime, which President Trump described on Truth Social today as new and also as more reasonable, I wonder if that matches your assessment. Mike, is this really a new regime, or is it just a cast of characters that has changed at the top of the same regime?
Well, it seems like the new boss is the same as the old boss. It's a hardcore element of the Iran is people that are good with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, that are in good standing with the clerics. Maybe some of these newer people have some ability to compromise more, or maybe they're more pragmatic than others. But I think they're all hardliners over there. I think that they're as mad as a hornet right now as well. And so I don't know that the conditions are really set for anyone to earnestly put forward positions other than the ones so far, which have been totally maximalist, like get the United States out of the Middle East and you cease everything, Iran, including your ballistic missile program.
How important is it to you, and it does seem to be to the administration, whether part of a deal or we go in and get the 1,000 pounds of enriched uranium that's sitting somewhere, likely underground?
This would be one of the biggest operations, I think, in American history. It would be enormous.
In terms of scale or importance?
Scale.
Really?
It would be, it's not just the special operations raid, think Osama bin Laden or against Maduro. I think it would take, let's just guess here, 1,000 troops, set up perimeter for more than a day, at least,
start digging.
to use, earth-moving equipment and who knows what else to dig it out under fire. Wow. And then put it on an airplane to ship out again. I could see Kharg Island happening sooner than I could this HEU. Although, one, you can't rule it out with President Trump. And I've heard generals say that if we've planned it well enough that we can do it. But it does seem a little bit daunting, and it's important and it's critical to do, but maybe there's other ways for us to neutralize it over time. People say, well, you know what, if we just stared at it over satellites, and if Iran ever comes close to where we think it's buried, we'll just hit them again. But it's another big question mark on how we might use ground troops.
But is that where we stumble into quagmire risk more substantially?
I think we're only in a total quagmire with ground troops is if we invade and try to hold territory.
Like Kharg Island, for example.
For an extended period of time. And so I don't think we would be around Esfahan retrieving the HEU for an extended period of time. But I think if you're holding Kharg Island, I have been persuaded by a lot of sort of the expert testimony that, you know what, it would be, they would hold us in harm because of the drones, proximity to drones, and the rest. So I think there's a lot to that.
You've talked to us about the taco trade before, which doesn't seem to be working for investors in quite the same way. John Author's writing on the Bloomberg about a different acronym. It's not taco, it's WACO. Will the Ayatollahs chicken out? And he says traders are concluding they almost certainly will not. Right. And so prices enter Holy Week under the worst pressure of this now month-old conflict. Nobody's going to want to go long into this long weekend for fear of what happens, Michael.
Well, yeah, I agree. I mean, the Ayatollahs, the regime this is obviously an existential threat. I mean, our targeting alone, but of course you add what Israel's doing there. They feel like they can use any tool in their toolkit. That's why they're taking shots at the Gulf Arabs. That's why they're taking shots earlier in the campaign at their energy infrastructure. That's, of course, why they feel so liberated to have threatened ships going through the strait. And so I feel like they are going to fight. Their back is against the wall, and everything for them is on the table.
Well, and then there's the proxies to consider. You already have the front that has opened up on the border with Lebanon and Israel as they go after Hezbollah. Now the Houthis also are launching drones and missiles at Israel. We all remember what they were able to do with commercial shipping, effectively cutting it off in the Red Sea back in 2023. How high is the risk that we could see that scenario repeating?
Oh, I think it's very high. I mean, people have been trying to figure out for the last few weeks why the Houthi was the dog that didn't bark. But, you know, they've started to engage a little bit more here. If they start not just targeting Israel, as you say, but beginning to target again ships transiting, you know, Katie bar the door. I don't know. Oil prices are going higher and higher and higher.
Markets are turning lower before our eyes here, by the way. I just want to mention the S&P is down 5 now. The NASDAQ is down 89 points after early gains. In our remaining moment, you spent time on national security, as we've already established, and whenever you visit in the George W. Bush administration, you were certainly gaming out any number of possibilities involving Iran. Are these options we're talking about for President Trump things that you had your eyes on, Kharg Island, et cetera?
Kharg Island, I think, has been on everyone's list for some period of time when we were thinking about sanctions and maximum pressure, because it was always, how do you get to the Iranian oil? And here's their choke point, if you will. By the way, the world's choke point, of course, is the Strait of Hormuz.
Sure.
This is their choke.
Did you game that out too?
What's that?
The Strait?
Yes.
You had these maps, you had these battle plans in front of you.
Oh, no. I had a sort of a different role, more along the putting pressure on Iran in that particular office and less the military plans. But no, I know that these two items have been part of military planning for some period of time. And I think this is something that we've got to figure out how to deal with, or else we've given the Iranians a lot more leverage than they had before this thing began.